It's that time again, brothers, for another horror movie night, and today we're diving into the American horror series, Malignant. The story begins in a private hospital, where a girl nervously stares at the camera, preparing for a terrifying surgery. The camera slowly shifts to the girl's back, revealing a malformed fetus growing there, sharing the same body as the girl. This teratoma's brain was abnormally developed. Not only could it control surrounding electrical appliances with its mind, but it also displayed extreme aggression, making it extremely dangerous. The doctors had no choice but to work together to restrain the girl and remove the teratoma from her body. However, their brains are connected, and removing the fetus entirely would endanger the girl's life. So, the doctors press part of the fetus's brain tissue into the girl's skull and sew it up. Fast forward 20 years. A woman named Madison is pregnant and about to give birth. She is the same girl who underwent the surgery all those years ago. This is Madison's fourth pregnancy. The previous 3 pregnancies ended in mysterious miscarriages, which have driven her husband to the edge. After a heated argument with Madison, Derek, in a fit of rage, slams Madison's head into the wall. When Derek comes to his senses, he frantically apologizes and rushes downstairs to get ice for Madison. During this brief moment, Madison locks the door and locks herself in her room. Soon after, it's nighttime. Derek is asleep on the couch, but suddenly he hears strange noises coming from the kitchen. When he investigates, he finds that the blender has inexplicably turned on by itself. As he cuts the power to the blender, the fridge behind him opens by itself. Thinking Madison is playing a prank on him because of their earlier argument, Derek begins searching the house. When he returns to the living room, the TV turns on by itself. He looks over to see someone sitting on the couch. Just as Derek opens his mouth to speak, the TV screen suddenly goes dark. He quickly turns on the lights, only to find the person on the couch has disappeared, and the cushion is rapidly rebounding, showing that someone had definitely been sitting there. Meanwhile, upstairs, Madison appears to have been awakened by the commotion. She quickly holds her belly and heads downstairs to investigate, only to find her husband lying in a pool of blood, his neck contorted at a disturbing 90-degree angle. At that moment, Madison sees a dark figure appear next to her husband's body. The figure crouches and begins crawling toward her. Madison's first instinct is to escape, but the creature is too fast, intercepting her. She rushes back into the bedroom and locks the door. When Madison wakes up again, she finds herself in a hospital bed, with her sister Sydney lying beside her. Sydney tells her that she is now in the hospital and everything is fine. Someone had broken into their home, injured her, and killed her husband. Madison instinctively touches her flat belly, and she breaks down in tears. She doesn't care much about her husband's death, as Derek had been abusive and lazy, but losing the baby is a devastating blow. To comfort Madison, Sydney dresses up in a Barbie doll outfit and stays by her side for 3 days and nights. Although Madison was adopted by Sydney's family, the bond between the sisters is incredibly deep. The police are still puzzled by the murder case because Derek had been abusing Madison every day. Madison had a clear motive for revenge, so she could easily be seen as a suspect. However, the fingerprints found on Derek's body were reversed, almost as if the killer had dropped down from the ceiling, which doesn't make sense at all. The scene shifts, and Madison is discharged from the hospital and returns home. As she prepares to go downstairs to do laundry, she sees someone flash past her. Madison is a little startled, but she brushes it off and hurries to the laundry room. While she's stuffing clothes into the washing machine, she suddenly notices an old woman behind the glass, screaming at her.
What are you doing in my house? This is my house! Who are you?
Confused, Madison finds that she can't move her body, and the black-clad figure from the previous night steps out from behind her. The black-clad figure grabs the old woman behind the washing machine and violently slams her to the ground. Madison's surroundings begin to rapidly disintegrate and melt as if she's trapped in a dream, yet it feels all too real. She finds herself in an unfamiliar place, and from the perspective of an observer, she watches the entire killing process carried out by the black-clad figure. As the elderly woman died, she seemed to recognize the killer, incredulously shouting, "This can't be possible."
Do you want from me?
To show you what the cancer has become.
Madison suddenly wakes up, and it's the next day. She found herself still lying in the room, and strangely, A large pool of blood was flowing from the back of her head. Madison guesses that last night must have been just a nightmare, but the events in the dream seem to have actually happened. Meanwhile, Detective Kikoa receives a report that a cleaner has discovered a murder victim. The victim is a retired Maine doctor from a private hospital named Weaver. Weaver's death was gruesome, her face crushed by a trophy. It seems like the killer was venting their rage, almost as if it was an act of revenge. Kikoa wonders if it was a patient seeking revenge on the doctor, which is something they've seen in similar cases before. As they're talking, Kikoa picks up a photo from the ground. It's of a girl named Emily, born in 1992. Regina points out that these binders on the wall contain patient records, and Weaver always kept them. But there are so many records that they can't find anything useful right away, so Kikoa hands the photo over to the technical team, asking them to simulate what the girl would look like 30 years later. The scene cuts to an elderly man who answers a phone call in a panic. From the conversation, it's clear that this elderly man is a colleague of the murdered Weaver. The person on the other end of the line warns Victor to be careful, as Weaver's death was suspicious, and then hangs up. As Victor stares out the window, the black-clad figure has already snuck into his house and is standing right behind him. Unaware, Victor heads to bed to sleep. Not long after, Madison, in her own bed, sees a strange sight. The black-clad figure winks at Madison, waking her from her sleep in a terrified state. Hearing the noise, Sydney rushes into the room and asks what happened. Madison says she saw another murder, and we need to go to the police right away. She even clearly knows the location of the crime scene, a penthouse apartment somewhere. Skeptical, Kikoa and Regina head there to investigate. They find an unlocked door and cautiously enter to investigate. Inside the master bedroom, they find Victor's body. His face, just like Weaver's, has been savagely attacked with a weapon, and his body is covered in hundreds of stab wounds. Madison quickly draws a sketch of the killer's appearance, claiming that she has recreated it exactly as she saw it in her dream. But Regina believes Madison is just making things up. While Madison is using the bathroom, the lights around her begin flickering on and off. Suddenly, her phone rings. Madison looks at the unknown number, and when she answers, a rough voice on the other end calls her Emily. Madison tells the caller that her name is Madison, not Emily. The mysterious voice responds saying, "Your mother gave you the name Madison, but to me, you will always be Emily."
One by one.
Gabriel, no!
At this point, Madison instinctively shouts out a name, Gabriel. This name feels both familiar and foreign to her because she can't remember anything before she was 8 years old. Determined to uncover the truth, Madison and her sister visit their mother. Madison asks her if, when they adopted her, they had ever mentioned she had a brother, or any family. Her mother is certain there was no mention of any siblings, saying that, if there were, they would have tried to adopt them into the same family.
And who the hell is Gabriel?
Upon hearing the name Gabriel, Jean's expression changes, and she acts strangely. Jean then takes Madison and Sydney to watch a video from when Madison was 8 years old. The family was celebrating Madison's birthday. But when it came time to blow out the candles, Madison suddenly acted strangely. She was muttering to herself, speaking to someone named Gabriel. At that time, Jean was pregnant with Sydney, and Gabriel suggests that Madison should kill the baby inside her mother's womb. But Madison refuses to do so. The scene cuts back to Detective Kikoa, who has received a photo simulation of the little girl grown up. He's shocked to realize that the grown-up girl looks exactly like Madison. He didn't expect Madison to be Dr. Weaver's patient. In Madison's medical records, Kikoa finds a photo of 3 doctors together. Most importantly, 2 of the doctors have already been killed, and the third, Dr. Gregory, is likely next. Kikoa immediately looks up Dr. Gregory's address and heads there. Meanwhile, Madison is back home brushing her teeth, but when she looks up, she sees the face of an old man in the mirror. The surroundings start to quickly dissolve and break apart, indicating that the killer is about to strike again. Madison finds herself in a bathroom, and across from her, lying in the bath, is Dr. Gregory. Just as Madison begins to feel terrified, the black-clad figure steps out from behind her, raising a sharp knife. Meanwhile, Kikoa arrived late at the destination. When he opened the bathroom door at Dr. Gregory's house, He found Dr. Gregory lying in a pool of blood, already dead. But the killer is still in the house, and trapped in the hallucination, Madison tries to warn Keikoa. However, no matter what she says, Keikoa can't hear her.
He's still here!
Jesus.
After a struggle, the black-clad figure manages to escape. His agility is remarkable as he climbs down the iron bars of the window, jumping layer by layer down the building. Keikoa doesn't hesitate and follows, using a trash can below to cushion his fall. But when he catches up to the killer at an abandoned building, the black-clad figure manages to escape once again. The killer shifts locations and ends up at a factory where he kidnaps a middle-aged woman who's about to finish her shift. This time, the black-clad figure doesn't kill the woman immediately. Instead, he locks her in a secret room, trapping her. The next day, Keikoa visits Madison's house and tells her that the 3 dead people were her doctors and she was their test subject. Her real name is Emily, not Madison. Madison admits she has no memory of any of this and that her memories before she was 8 are completely blank. Keikoa then calls in a hypnotist to help Madison recover the memories that have been buried deep inside her. Under the hypnotist's guidance, Madison recalls a deeply ingrained memory from her childhood. She says that after she was adopted, Gabriel followed her to her new home and kept urging Madison to kill her mother's unborn daughter, Sydney. On one occasion, during her mother's birthday, Madison accidentally ruined the birthday cake. When her parents scolded her, Madison claimed that it was Gabriel who caused the mess, and she ran angrily to her room. Later that night, Gabriel ordered Madison to go to the kitchen, telling her to cut a piece of the cake and apologize to her mother. He assured her that her mother would be very happy. Faced with Madison's emotional breakdown, the hypnotist is forced to stop the session and bring her back to consciousness. Meanwhile, the kidnapped woman uses a nearby metal sheet to cut her restraints. In her haste to escape, the floor beneath her suddenly cracks open and she falls hard from the upper floor. And the place she fell into turned out to be Madison's house. Soon after, they discover clothes and weapons used by the killer hidden in the attic. This unexpected discovery immediately draws the attention of the police, who arrest Madison and deploy a large force to seal off her house. However, Sydney believes her sister couldn't possibly be the killer. There must be some unknown truth behind all this. After getting the address of the adoption hospital from their mother, Sydney rushes there. But the hospital had been shut down 10 years ago, and she wasn't sure if she'd be able to find any information on Madison. After hours of searching, Sydney finally uncovers Madison's childhood medical records and treatment history. The files were filled with information about conjoined deformities, and Sydney could barely understand any of it. Fortunately, there are several boxes of videotapes, so Sydney takes them home to play. The first tape shows a 15-year-old girl who is pregnant, and this girl turns out to be Madison's biological mother, Serena. Because Serena was so young and pregnant, her family criticized her and no one would help her, so she turned to the private hospital to give birth. The scene shifts to Serena, the woman who fell from the upper floor. After giving birth to Madison, Serena abandoned her and left her at the hospital. Next, Sydney plays another tape. This one shows Madison at the age of 7. Dr. Weaver says she wants to speak to Madison alone, explaining that Gabriel has been sedated and won't wake up for a while. It turns out that Gabriel is an extreme case of a teratoma. The condition arises when 2 embryos fail to fully separate in the womb during development. One embryo takes dominance, while the other doesn't fully develop. The undeveloped one is Gabriel, and Gabriel can somehow enter Madison's mind, causing her to see hallucinations and commit strange, harmful actions. To address this, the doctors had to surgically remove Gabriel from Madison's body. However, their brains were fused together, and they couldn't completely remove him. So, a part of Gabriel's brain was sewn into Madison's skull. For many years, Gabriel remained dormant until Derek slammed Madison's head against the wall, which woke Gabriel up. The scene shifts to a prison, where a female bully confronts Madison. The leader, Scorpion, and Beta throw Madison to the ground, repeatedly kicking her in the stomach and striking her on the back of the head. At that moment, the lights in the cell flicker uncontrollably. and Madison, in a frenzy, grabs her head and begins to scream. When she lifts her hair, everyone in the room is horrified to see a terrifying face emerging from the back of her head. Next, Gabriel retrieves his signature coat and weapons from the evidence room, then moves into the office area where he begins a violent confrontation with the police. In no time, Gabriel takes down everyone, escaping the police station. Gabriel arrives at the hospital where Serena is staying, intent on finishing her off. Coincidentally, he runs into Sydney, who has also arrived.
Gabriel. I should never have given you away. You were my son. And I should have loved you no matter what.
Just as Gabriel is about to be swayed by Serena, Kikoa bursts in and shoots at them twice.
Madison, he killed your babies! He was the cause of your miscarriages! He was feeding off of your fetuses to build himself back up!
Thinking about how her children had died because of Gabriel, Madison was immediately consumed by rage. She unleashed an unprecedented power using Gabriel's own methods to bring him into the world of her mind. Deep within her mind, Madison trapped Gabriel in an unbreakable cage, sealing him away forever. At this point, Madison finally gained full control over her body, and the film came to an end.